Welcome to the Road Cook. Here we are in March already. Boy, time flies. St. Patty Day is coming up quick and it's time to start on our corned beef. So today in part one, I'm going to show you how to set up the curing for the corned beef, and we'll come back in a week. It needs to sit in the refrigerator for a week, and we'll come back and we'll show you how to cook it up. Alright, so over here I've got 6 cups of boiling water. This happens to be a 4-pound a brisket. I kind of cut it wrong, but the recipe's for 3 pounds. I turned the ingredients up just a tad. It'll be fine. Alright, so into my boiling water, I've got a teaspoon of mustard seed. I got a teaspoon of black peppercorn. I got 10 cloves, 5 bay leaves. The original recipe called for 2 bay leaves, but I like bay leaves. I got 10 allspice berries, and I've got 10 juniper berries. Now you can go buy your own pickling spice. I just like making my own. If you buy your own pickling spice, I'd say anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 cup of the mix, depending on how strong you like it. Again, the original recipe called for 1 cup of salt. To me, that's nuts. I'm going to show you a healthier way to do this. If you've ever looked at any corned beef recipes, most of them have either a real high level of salt or they have a lot of chemicals. I don't want either. So 1/4 cup of salt goes into the water. Plus, this is the Celtic sea salt. It's very strong. If you're using a regular salt, you might want to go to a 1/2 cup, but this Celtic stuff it's off the chain. Okay. We'll give this a stir. All right. Make sure that salt starts to break down in there. And I'm going to kill the heat. Cover it and let it steep like you would a tea. Now this needs to cool down before you pour it on here. You don't want it to start to cook the meat, but you don't want it cold either. So, just let it rest over here until the water gets cool enough that you can touch it. If you're in a hurry, you can always throw ice in it. Bring the temperature down a little bit. Or just stick it in the freezer. Alright. So how are we going to get around such a low level of salt, no nitrates, yada yada? Our friend beer. Now you can also use celery juice, or you can increase the salt in the water. What I'm going to do is inject the beer, my good old Lone Star here, into my brisket, and while it's curing in the fridge, while it's marinating for lack of a better term, those nitrates will start to break down and tenderize that beef. Alright, so all we're going to do, take my handy dandy injector, trying not to make a mess of myself as I normally do, and I'm just going to pump this puppy full of beer. Come on. There we go. Easy peasy. Wasn't sure if that was on camera or not. Gotta be careful when you're injecting. I don't know if you're catching it, but if you stick the beef or any meat that you're injecting, a lot of times it's going to find its path of least resistance and it'll come spraying out somewhere else. So just go slow. Take your time. After all, that water there's cooling behind me. Oh, that was a good one. How much would you use? I like to say as much as I can get in here. realistically, half a cup. Depending on what I'm doing, I'll often split a can between the meat and myself. Today we happen to have a keg on tap, so I'll go get mine later. And this, what this ends up doing is it'll turn any kind of meat into just the most tender meat that you can imagine. I think we're pretty good there. All right. And it, a lot of it, not a lot of it, some of the beer, and a little blood, it leaked out, it's in the pan, no big deal. Matter of fact, what I'll probably do, no, I was going to dump the beer in there, but nah, I don't want to mess my recipe up. Okay, so that is that, and now all we have to do is wait for the water to cool enough to pour it on here. In as you go. Beer everywhere. Alright. So, I'll be back when my water cools. Alright. So what I did is I took the hot water from the brine from the pot, I put it in a very large metal bowl, and then I put it in the fridge for a half hour and let it cool down. Now, I used the metal bowl in a large size to disperse the heat and cool it down quickly. Do not brine products in a metal bowl. Always use glass or plastic, preferably glass. But for the purposes of cooling down the salt brine, it's okay. If you try to cure in a metal bowl, you're going to get metal contaminant in the product from the salt trying to eat into the metal. I don't care if it's the highest dollar surgical steel in the world, it's going to cause you drama you don't want. Alright, so we have our brine. All we're going to do is pour it over the brisket. You can see it doesn't completely submerge it. It's always best if you can submerge the meat, but I'm doing it like this to make an example of you do not have to. What you do need to do is it's going to cure in the fridge for a week. 2 weeks if you like a more robust flavor. But every day you're going to have to come in here and flip it in the pan. In a perfect world, if your brisket is small enough to fit into like a gallon Ziploc, you can pour the brine into that Ziploc and then every day just flip the Ziploc in the fridge. But this is a large piece. I tried. I could cut it up. I just didn't want to. Alright, so that's all there is to that. All I'm going to do is put a cover on it, label it, and put it in the fridge. And we will come back in a week and take a look at it. Decide if we want to go longer, but probably not. A week is usually enough for this. I want the date and what it is. Do you have to do this? No. But if you got as many projects going on as I do, and you're old like me, then beer muscles, they forget after a while. Alright. That's all there is to it. Into the fridge it goes. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in a week. and we'll show you how to cook this up at that point. Eat well, be good to one another, have a great day. This is the Road Cook signing off.